There are a lot of lies going on about me now. And it's hard for me to know that for the rest of my life, this man's view of me is all anybody is ever going to know about my story. And so much of what he said is lies. He continuously says that I'm choosing not to work, not that I'm unable to work, but I'm choosing not to. I'm not able to work. It's not a choice. He says multiple times that I'm choosing to be homeless, that I could just go home if I wanted to. I'm not choosing to be homeless. I didn't choose to be homeless. I had no home. I had no family. I had no place to go. I was not choosing to spend the last 5 years of my life homeless. The fact that I didn't want to go to a shelter is not choosing to be homeless. It's fear of a shelter. And once I got into the shelter, there was just as much for me to fear as I thought there was going to be. Being afraid is not the same as choosing homelessness. It's being afraid of the other choices and having no place else to go. They contacted the church, and the church told them a lot of disgusting things about me and their lies, and that's church people lying. In that degree, church people telling those types of lies. I never once asked anybody in that church for money. After I left, one of the women in the church started sending me money. But to say that I just went out on Sundays and panhandled to the congregation, that's disgusting. No, I did not. The pastor is the one who panhandles to his congregation. I never cut in on him. Not once. I never once tried to hone in on the pastor's donations on Sunday. I never once asked any of his congregation for money. I used to walk down to the Walmart 5 miles away and use a sign standing out on the road. That's a lot different from being in the church parking lot asking people for money. That was 5 miles away at Walmart, where people were going to spend money. And that stopped when the pandemic happened because the police started giving out tickets for it. They're saying that I dismembered Robin's body. Oh God, her body wasn't even dismembered. Dismembered means you've cut somebody up into little pieces. That didn't even happen to Roberta. She was not cut up into pieces. And I did not help bury her. The only thing that I did was what he told me to do, which was hand him garbage bags and wash things in the sink, which he put in the sink, filled the sink for me, literally had to walk me over to the sink and dip my hands into the water because I was not able to function and do these things. And he's saying, well, how can it be possible for her to not be able to function and do these things when we've seen her freaking out when things happen? Well, There's a big difference between seeing a dead body and seeing a man smoking meth outside. There's a big difference between seeing a dead body and getting harassing messages from people online. There's a big difference between seeing a dead body and anything else I have dealt with in the past 5 years. There's a big difference in the first time you ever see a dead body and anything I have experienced during homelessness. Point blank, there is a large difference. The murder was the most traumatizing thing I ever experienced in my life. There was nothing that made me react the same way that I reacted that day. So, the fact that they're saying that my overreactions now prove that that wasn't what happened back then is absolute bullshit. My reactions to things have changed over the years as I've grown less and less capable of holding in my emotions. I didn't used to always freak out like this. But nobody will ever believe me because people are calling in and lying to them about me. Like my family lied to them about me. The church lied to them about me. They lied. They lied. The church lied. And that's absolutely fucked up. The church people, God people. This is why it's so hard for me to be a Christian, because God people lie. They lie. What the church said about me was absolutely messed up. The church knew that I could not drive that truck. I wasn't parked there illegally. That's something else that apparently the church told them, that I was parked there illegally. I was not there illegally. When I first parked there, I had permission from the pastor of the church. He said I could park there until I got my Section 8. And then it took too long for me to get my Section 8. And I couldn't handle that. I couldn't help that. I did everything I could to get it. Just having the voucher doesn't automatically get you the unit. And it took me a long time to get approved for one. We went around and around in circles for a year with finding units that I could get in, and then they would change the price when they found out I was Section 8. And I couldn't afford it anymore. I applied for so many that I got turned down. I had so much hope for so many apartments that I didn't get into. When the pandemic first began, like literally the day before it was announced that things were going to be shutting down, the pastor talked to me and told me that he wanted me to leave. And I did get upset because he was screaming at me. And I had no place to go. And I could not move the truck. And the pastor knew that. He knew that when he let me park it there. Everybody in that church was aware that I could not drive that truck. So he's screaming at me, telling me I have to leave. I told him I'm trying, I'm doing my best. I left on foot to go to Walmart and get something to eat. About an hour later, this guy drives up in his car and tells me to get in. And I say no. And he says, get in. And we argue back and forth for a while. And he says, I'm taking you back to the church. Get in. And I said I would walk back. And he said, you don't have a choice. Get in my car. And at that point, I felt like I was being abducted. This man was telling me to get into his car, and I had no choice. He drove me back to the church where him and the pastor screamed at me, and they told me they were going to contact my therapist. This is something else that they lied about. They told this guy that I told them to call my therapist, and then I got mad about them for doing that, and that's absolutely not true. Why would I ever tell anybody to speak to my therapist? That is a complete violation of my privacy. Nobody has authorization to speak to my therapist. And they tried to force it that day. They told me that I had to give consent for them to speak to my therapist. They called her over and over and over again, and she didn't answer them. They kept telling me, if she answers, you are going to give consent for her to speak to us. And I didn't feel comfortable with it, and it was a thing. Okay, these people, they screamed at me for hours, and at one point, this guy asked me, why are you so scared anyways of going back? You were out there for so long. Why was it be so hard for you to just leave the truck again? And I told him because I was being raped and molested a lot out on the street, and I didn't want to go back to that life. I was scared of going back to that life. I was safe in the truck. And he said, oh, well, I've been raped. I was raped in prison, and I was on heroin. Blah. I was like, dude, I don't care. I don't want to sit here and listen to you talk to me for 20 minutes about how it's not a bad thing to be raped because you were raped when you were on heroin and in prison. And I'm not on heroin. I'm not in prison. I'm not in the same situation at all. I was a woman who was perfectly safe, who now had men screaming at her, telling her to leave and go someplace where she was not safe, and trying to convince her that rape wasn't that bad. And now apparently that same pastor has contacted this man that hates me and told him these disgusting lies about me. That to be coming from a man of God, at least I know he won't be going to heaven. You know. That's disgusting. That's exactly what it is. It's fucked up. To be standing up there on Sunday and preaching to all these people about how wonderful it is to be a good person and how you're supposed to be forgiving and loving. And then he's going to talk to this hateful man and tell them these disgusting lies that hold no love or forgiveness for their fellow human being that's suffering. Saying that I had no right to be able to sell the truck. It was mine. He gave it to me. And if I could have sold it, I would have left a lot sooner than I did because I would have had a way to get rid of the truck. One of the reasons I didn't leave the church was because the truck was there and I had no way to move it. I had no way to sell it or get rid of it. And Ryan was in Japan and nobody was going to help me. When I asked Ryan to help me sell the truck, okay, I wasn't asking him to put a sign on it or to go out and sell it for me. I asked him to help me move the truck a mile away so that I could sell it to the recycling center. Because I had lived in it for a year and I didn't think anybody else should have it after a homeless person lived in it for a year during a pandemic. I thought it would be better scrapped for pieces. He wanted to donate it to another charity. He had already donated it to me. It was not a loan, okay? He did not loan the truck to me, saying that he would take it back when I had a place to stay. He gave it to me. He told me it was mine. It was in my name. I had paperwork saying that vehicle belonged to me. I should have been allowed to sell it and leave the church. Instead, nobody would help me move the truck 1 mile away. I wasn't going to go to jail for driving that truck a mile away with no license, no insurance, none of that. By the time Ryan got back from Japan and I was leaving, none of that was there anymore. And they wanted me to take the truck on by myself. A truck that I couldn't drive. And there was no sympathy, there was no help. It was all just screaming at me and telling me, get this done, do this. And it's, God. The lies about my family were one thing, because I know my family's going to lie about me. My family has always lied about me. But the church lying about me, How do they even sleep with themselves? That's the most disturbing part of the whole thing. And I can't get it out of my head. I can't sleep. I can't rest. I can't stop thinking about how for the rest of my life, this is the version of me that everybody's going to know. Nobody's ever going to know the person I was before I was homeless. Nobody's ever going to know who I was before I had PTSD. All they're going to know is this scared, freaked out person that they think is lying about everything. And I'm not. You know, they make fun of how often I threaten to kill myself. I'm serious every time I say that I want to kill myself. I wake up every single morning wanting to die. I don't take care of myself because I want to die. I'm scared to die. But it's the one thing I want in this life more than anything else. And every time that I have threatened to kill myself, I have been in a state where I was wanting very badly to die. And people just make fun of you for that. And they say that I'm not trying, I'm not doing anything. I've been seeing doctors and therapists and taking medications. But that's doing nothing, and it's just... It's doing nothing because I can't get better. Because to get better from PTSD, you need the love and support of family and friends. And I have absolutely no family and absolutely no friends and absolutely no support. Because the only support I had was YouTube. And now, here on YouTube, there's this 2-3 hour long movie that will ensure that nobody will ever care about me again. And there's nothing I can do about it. People are going to be attacking me on the streets over this. I'm not going to be able to leave my home. And there's nothing I can do about it because people are allowed to say whatever they want. And they're going to keep defending it, saying, well, you wrote a book about your family. I wrote an anonymous book because I needed to get some things out. And my family put their name on it because they stalked me. I didn't put any names in my book. God, I don't want to live. I really don't. And I know nobody cares. Everybody's just, it's another one for the suicide count. It's so funny that this woman no longer wants to live. It's so hilarious that this woman has nothing left in her world. No friends or family or love or reason for life. It's so funny. It's just so funny.